Hello and welcome. Today I'm going to show you how to put a new battery in a 2012 Honda CRV. Even if you've never opened up your hood, this is straightforward and easy. Anyone can do it. Thanks for tuning in, and let's get going. Before we get started, we need to make sure we have everything necessary to get our job done. The most important thing here is obviously the new battery. You can find these at most auto parts stores, big box stores. I got mine at Costco. Now we want to make sure we want to get the right type of battery that fits our CRV. So for the CRV, it should be fitment code 11, group size 51R. You'll also notice that most batteries will show you when they were made, and this helps you understand when it's time to swap it out so you don't find out by surprise when your car won't start stranding you someplace far from home. You'll see on this battery we have a couple of different places for those date codes. One says 618, the other's indicated via some letters and numbers there. Next up, let's talk about tools. We're going to need a couple of them to remove the old battery and the harness that's securing it. The CRV nuts require a 10mm crescent wrench or nut driver. I just use the nut driver, but if you don't have one of those, generally a lot of people have crescent wrenches around their house. Next up, let's talk cleaning. I like to take the opportunity to clean up the engine a little bit while I'm in there, so I always bring some detergent and some shop towels to make things look nice. Let's talk next about safety. Let's be sure we protect ourselves in this dirty, dangerous, hot environment called the engine. So wear our gloves and eye protection at all times while we're doing this. We're protected, we're in the engine bay, we're ready to get to work. Let's start by taking off the nuts that are holding on the battery harness that keeps the battery in the engine in the battery tray with our 10mm nut driver or our 10mm crescent wrench that we talked about earlier. So on both sides of that battery harness, we're going to go ahead and loosen those nuts, and there they go. Couple turns, don't have to be too hard. Loosen that up. There we go. So next, we're actually going to unscrew the battery terminal. And we start off with the negative one. We always start with a negative battery terminal first. And this is going to disconnect the battery from the vehicle. So the battery's going to be disconnected, meaning there's no more power to the vehicle. And after we do the negative terminal, we'll unscrew the positive terminal. And once we get ready to put the new battery in, we'll do this in the opposite direction. But just keep in mind, we always want to do the negative terminal first, followed by the positive terminal when we're removing the battery. Next up, we'll put that nut driver to work, our 10mm nut driver, and finish removing the harness on the battery, and thereby allowing us to get that old battery out of the battery tray. Once we remove those nuts, now we've got to get these hooks that you see, these metal hooks out from underneath the battery tray. So just unhook those on each side. And then you see that harness just pops right off. Next up, we're going to get in here and remove this plastic bracket that's also part of the battery harness. You notice while I'm doing this that it may look like I'm having a bit of a hard time, but it's really not that difficult. It's just everything is fitting really well together. Everything's sturdy, so you don't have to worry about anything breaking. It's just in there very tightly, so it can take a little bit of doing. It is dirty, so this is another reason why I should have worn gloves, why I recommend gloves, but not to worry. Everything, as you can see, is coming out just fine. It's just kind of wiggling it around sometimes. So there we go. The battery caddy / harness is out of there now. Now let's actually grab that battery and pull it on out. Now these batteries aren't light, okay? So they probably weigh, I don't know, 10, 15 pounds, maybe a little more. And they're very dense. So just be prepared for the weight of the battery. Now notice my battery tray is really dirty. This bothers me, so let's get this new battery in there. All right, brand new, ready to go. Beautiful, shiny new battery. Still just as heavy as the other one, so use caution. Look at that, this thing fits in there perfectly. You know why? Because we looked at the fitment code 11, group size 51R. Those are the crucial numbers that you're going to want to remember when you go into that auto parts store and you ask the clerk for the battery for a Honda CRV. They should have that information there, but hey, you should take it with you as well. Fitment code 11, group size 51R. What we're going to do now is just get that protective cover back in there, part of the battery tray assembly there, and that's going to protect the battery. Notice that I had to remove the protective covers from the positive and negative terminals before that would fit. That's okay. Sometimes it'll be a little tight in there, so just take your time. The tolerances are pretty tight in there, so don't worry too much if it doesn't fit right away. What I'm going to do here is reconnect the wire that's connected to that negative terminal, and that supplies power back to the car. We're not reconnecting the battery just yet. We're just reconnecting the wire to that negative terminal as we prepare to reconnect the positive terminal first and the negative terminal second. But first, let's put that metal bracket over the battery like we had before, and that's just going to further secure it to the battery tray. And we're going to take those hooks and put them underneath the battery tray at the bottom there, and those little J hooks connect into, there are two little holes you'll see down there on the bottom underneath the tray, and so they'll just go in there. Next, we're going to take that 10mm nut driver and we're going to go ahead and secure those nuts, one on each side, and that's going to secure it to the battery tray below. Next up, let's reconnect those terminals. And I want to be careful here because I want to remember to always connect the positive terminal first, followed by the negative terminal. I even have an assistant here that's holding the negative terminal so I don't accidentally make contact with the negative before I'm ready to connect it. So there we go, I've got the positive terminal connected, and next up is the negative terminal. So thanks to my assistant, I'm now able to go ahead and push that negative terminal on there and simply take my nut driver and go ahead and tighten that up there. And don't worry, you're not going to get shocked or electrocuted as long as you follow some very basic principles here. Really just that you connect the positive before the negative when you reinstall the battery. And now, the moment of truth. Let's see if all of our hard work and planning paid off. Let's see if this car will actually start. I'm betting that it will, but let's see. My assistant will now attempt to turn over the engine. And that's how easy it is to replace the battery in a 2012 Honda CRV. All of the supplies and tools I used in this video are linked below in the description. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to my channel. See you next time!